Well, we'll continue in Matthew's parables tonight, next week, and then the following week, so in 2 weeks, is Wednesday before Thanksgiving. Stay home. No, we won't meet on that week. We're going to be in Matthew 25, looking at verses 1 through 13 tonight. Matthew 25, first 13 verses. This is the parable of the 10 virgins. I'm sure you all know it well, right? I'm going to read the text because I'm using New American. It's Matthew 25, again there, verse 1. It says, Jesus says, "Then the kingdom of heaven will be comparable to 10 virgins who took their lamps and they went out to meet the bridegroom. 5 of them were foolish, and 5 were prudent or wise. For when the foolish took their lamps, they took no oil with them, but the prudent took oil in a flask along with their lamps. Now while the bridegroom was delaying, they all got drowsy and began to sleep. But at midnight there was a shout, 'Behold the bridegroom! Come out to meet him.' Then all those virgins rose and trimmed their lamps. The foolish said to the prudent, 'Give us some of your oil, for our lamps are going out.' But the prudent answered, 'No, there will not be enough for us and you too. Go instead to the dealers and buy some for yourselves.' And while they were going away to make the purchase, the bridegroom came. And those who were ready went in with him to the wedding feast, and the door was shut. Later the other virgins also came, saying, 'Lord, Lord, open up for us.' But he answered, 'Truly I say to you, I do not know you. Be on the alert then, for you do not know the day nor the hour.'" All right. Jesus once again says the kingdom of heaven is compared to this parable. Not every one that we've looked at, but most of them, he said, the kingdom of heaven is compared to, and he goes off and tells his parable. Why do you think he's doing that? Somebody better speak, or I'm going to make everybody give me an answer. Why do you think he's doing that? One, now we know he's talking in parables because he said the people that are listening, and a lot of them in this case are still religious leaders, they only want to hear what they want to hear. They're not hearing the truth. And so if he told them the full-blown truth, they wouldn't believe him then. So he talks in stories, parables. But even if he told the apostles the truth, full-blown, no stories, they probably wouldn't get it. I know people today that can read it, and we're looking back almost 2,000 years, and we still don't get it, right? So he's giving all this in bits and pieces. And if you go back and you read all the parables where he says, the kingdom of heaven is like, it's like a mustard seed. You know, it's like a pearl found. You know, it's this and it's that. And you put it all together, you'll get a good idea of what heaven is like. So, to give you the full picture of this parable, here's some background. The parable, of course, is about a wedding reception, or a wedding and the reception to follow. Now, today, for a wedding, invitations are sent out, save the date. The venue is reserved, the caterers are hired, and the wedding ceremony, as well as the reception, is a big deal. The date and time are set, and there's very little flexibility to the date and time and location today. This parable describes an Oriental type wedding, which is what would have taken place during Jesus' day. An Oriental or Eastern wedding were set for a given day. So they have a set day. But the start and ending times are not set. Those are kind of up in the air, you might say. So the bridal party has to be ready at any time, waiting for the bridegroom and his party to come to them. In this parable, It's evidently going to be after sunset. And from what I've read, a lot of times that's when it would happen. And let me just add this in too. Couples today here, they get engaged. He gets on one knee, will you marry me? She says yes. Boom, they're engaged. In this time period, in biblical time period, they have what's known as the betrothal. You might think about Joseph and Mary, they were betrothed. That was a big deal. That was more of a ceremony, and it was an official ceremony to where they were considered husband and wife after the betrothal. The difference is he went back to his home and she went back to daddy's home. From what I've read, not the main reason, one of the reasons is that gives him time, up to about a year, to build a home for the new couple. So here you have in this parable, all right, the betrophal's taking place. The wedding ceremony is not much other than, okay, you're together now. And then, of course, it's party time with the feast afterwards. And so when it's time, at the choosing of the groom's time, maybe had a busy day, had a lot of work to do, had to put the finishing coats on the house or something. But it's late, or it can be late, either way. And so when they come, they'll proceed from his home to the bride's home or the bridal party location. They'll go through the streets. There'll be maybe some music. They'll have poles on lamps and everything else. And once together, the two parties then wind back through the village to the place that's designated to have the wedding and where the feast will be held. So in this parable, the 10 virgins are part of the bridal party. It's not just, and the understanding of virgins can just be young ladies. Not as we might think of a virgin today, but just young ladies. They know, okay, the wedding's today. They've got their hair done, they've had their fingers done and their toes done, everything else, and they're ready. They're waiting on the guy. Usually it's the guy waiting on the girl, but now it's the girls waiting on the guy. They just don't know when he's coming. Evidently, they know where the wedding's going to take place, but they don't know the start time. So these 10 young ladies, young virgins, are all a part of the bridal party. 5 are referred to as being foolish and 5 as prudent or wise. The difference is the foolish ones put oil in the lamps, but they don't purchase any extra, where the 5 prudent or wise ones do, because, well, what if the bridegroom's late in coming? They were prepared. They didn't know when he was coming, but they knew it would be that day. They didn't know the hour. They didn't know the minute. They just knew today the groom is coming. Verse 5 tells us that they got sleepy and they began to sleep. Verse 6 states, at midnight. So the party was going to be late. It wasn't 10 o'clock or 8 o'clock. It's midnight. And there's a shout to announce that he's coming. It says, if I can find it real quick, behold the bridegroom. It's a shout. The bridegroom's coming. Somewhere maybe off in the distance, they see the lights of the parade through the city, and they say, he's coming, he's coming. And I'm reminded of the shout of what Paul wrote to the church in Thessalonica. Paul said, for the Lord himself will descend from heaven with a shout, with the voice of the archangel, and with the trumpet of God. The church is the bride. Jesus is the bridegroom. One day, there's going to be a shout. The bridegroom's coming. Christians and churches better be ready. We are, if you read the text, the scriptures, it says, be looking, doesn't it? Doesn't say on such and such day or such and such year. We're to be looking at all times. And so this is what this parable reminds me of with this taking place. Now the 5 wise virgins, young ladies, were prepared. Of course, they'd fallen asleep just like the others. Notice they all fell asleep. They all had oil lamps. They're all a part of the bridal party. It's just only half of them were prepared for it to be late. The 5 that were prepared, they had their little flask, refill that oil lamp, and go. The 5 who were not prepared say, how about sharing some of that? No, might not be enough, because they had to have oil to go all the way back to the location and probably to last through a good portion of the ceremony and into the feast. So what do the wise ones do? They say, well, you go purchase your own. So the wedding feast, the wedding and the feast, of course, were not new or new ideas. These 5 foolish ones should have known better than to not be prepared. So they had to take a chance that they could go find a seller, wake the seller, purchase the oil, and get back in time before the bridegroom leaves. Now, as it said, they evidently knew where the wedding was taking place, where the feast was going to be. But by the time they get there, the door is closed. And so, and said, it would not be open. Now, I looked, and I was trying to find out why the door is going to be closed. Now, I couldn't find an answer. I mean, if it's like a wedding feast today, okay, well, we've only got so much food, we can only let so many in. Maybe that's part of it. But I think the understanding comes from where Jesus says, this is how you compare to the kingdom of heaven. So, Jesus, when Christ calls for us to join him, only those who are ready will be allowed into heaven. Only those who've done what Jesus has said to take and do. Matthew 16:24. You want to follow him? Deny self, take up your cross, and follow me. He doesn't say, here's a cross. When you feel like it, pick it up and follow me. But there are, and you can argue with me if you want, people in churches today who don't do that. They like, well, not today. I'll come back tomorrow, Jesus. I got too much to do. And so they're not really following him. It's more of the attitude of where, aren't you lucky that I'm here? Seen that in churches too. To be a follower of Jesus Christ, of course, you have to commit and be ready to follow him. You got to believe he is God's son, died, buried, rose. But you cannot have an excuse for when it's time. The choice of when he's going to return or when he's going to call us to him is his. It's not ours. Can you imagine? Let's just say in 10 minutes, we all hear this trumpet sound. And there's a shout. Which one of you is going to say, man, I got too much to do tomorrow. Can you come back tomorrow evening? Or maybe somebody's on a business call. Because this is going to take place not just here, but all around the world. And it's like, man, I got to finish this call first. Or it's the middle of the night, because it will be the middle of the night somewhere. It's the middle of the night. Come back when it's daylight. What kind of dedication to Christ is that? It's not. And that's why he says, deny self, take up your cross, and follow me. Well, these 10 foolish young ladies, virgins, they weren't prepared. They weren't that dedicated. They are not ready. They wanted to make the choice, not the bridegroom. So they get there, the door's closed, and the 5 foolish virgins, of course, they were not ready, and they call out to Jesus and say, or to the bridegroom and say, let us in. But he doesn't let them in. As I was preparing for this, I thought about, remember the story that was another parable, just not in Matthew, about the farmer? He's got a great harvest, farmer, and he got a great harvest. And he says, man, I got such a great harvest. I'm going to tear down my old barns, build bigger ones, fill them up, and I'm going to retire. And what did the Lord say? You fool. You're dying tonight. I wonder how many people are going to be like that. I don't know about you, but I've had people say, I got time to accept Christ. I'll do it later on. Those are the ones that are compared to these 10 foolish young ladies, people. They think they've got time. They think it's going to be okay. They're the ones trying to control it, but they are not in control. If we look at verses 11 and 12, it says, the foolish cry out to the groom, requesting to enter, but the groom says, I do not know you, which implies there's no relationship with them, even though they were a part of the bridal party. Their tardiness reveals to the groom and to everybody their true dedication to that wedding or to the bridegroom and the bride. They're not dedicated. They weren't ready when time came. Now, this reminds me of another time, Jesus saying, I don't know you. Anybody know when that is? Sermon on the Mount, Matthew 7, 21, 23. Jesus says, not everyone who says to me, Lord, Lord, will enter the kingdom of heaven, but the one who does the will of my Father who is in heaven will enter. Many will say to me on that day, Lord, Lord, did we not prophesy in your name, and in your name cast out demons, and in your name perform many miracles? And then I will declare to them, I never knew you. Leave me, you who practice lawlessness or sin. So again, here's another instance where Jesus is saying, we don't have a relationship. And I like to take that line where they're saying we prophesy. If I modernize that, it's like, Jesus, didn't I teach Sunday school and vacation Bible school? Didn't I go on the mission trips? Didn't I support missionaries? Didn't I support the church? I was the biggest donor for that building project. And Jesus says, but I never knew you. This is no lie, I knew a gentleman many years ago who probably, I don't know how much he gave, but probably was the largest contributor to the church. But he would not put his check in the offering plate because he didn't want anybody to know how much he gave. So he handed it directly to the financial secretary who made the deposits. So she was the only one who knew how much he gave. He also thought and did his best to control that church because of how much he put in that offering plate. See, he wasn't denying self. He was, here's what I've done for you, Jesus. He would be compared in this parable to the foolish ones. Verse 13, last verse. Be on the alert, Jesus says, for you do not know the day nor the hour. Here we see the purpose and the meaning of this parable and how it compares to heaven. We, and all those who have heard Jesus tell this parable, all who might read or hear this parable read, we're to be on the alert. It's not an option, because no one knows the day nor the hour that Jesus will return, when the shout of the trumpet will be blown from heaven announcing him. Now we can guess, and unfortunately many people have, and they've deceived a lot of others along with their own deception, but nobody knows the exact year, nevertheless month, day, and time. We don't know. Like I said, it could happen in 5 minutes. It may not happen for another 10,000 years. We don't know when. But this is why we are to always be ready for Christ to call us home. It could happen. A person's homecoming might happen in an instant. Heart attack. My father and grandfather. Boom, they were gone. Then again, it could be an accident or some type of a cancer. I lost a brother in 92. He had a brain tumor. Slowly deteriorated. And we don't know when that day or time's coming for us individually. And we don't know when Jesus is going to come back, and we just go up into the clouds and meet him. It will come. It's going to come one way or another. I can't wait. In Jesus' day, the religious leaders led the people to believe that so long as they followed their laws, man's law, and the rituals that they had put in place, that they'd be okay. They'd enter into heaven. But Jesus refuted those rituals and those man-made laws. He's repeated that it is all about each person's personal relationship with Christ and with God. That's what matters. Not what rituals they do or what laws they keep. Even though you still have people today that want to be legalistic in what they believe and how they worship. Why do you think Jesus is saying it's the relationship with God that matters rather than what you do? Or why doesn't God just allow anybody and everybody into heaven? What do you think? Let's look at it this way. Why doesn't God just let anybody or everybody into heaven? What's your thoughts?
Well, they're not believers, so why should he?
Because he wants to?
I think it works like that.
He paid a big price. He died on the cross and made a big sacrifice.
So if he let everybody in, Christ died for nothing. But there are people who want to say, God's going to let everybody in because the only part they read out of here is God is love and he loves everybody. But God's also just and judge. And is it fair that we would get to go to heaven, whether you've been a Christian for one day or 75 plus years, and you've worked in the church and you've attended church and you've read the Bible and you've prayed to God and you've trusted God with this and that, and God lets an atheist in or an agnostic who says, yeah, God's real, but he hadn't been around for a long time. Or maybe he lets a Muslim in. Of course, they call God Allah, but they don't believe Jesus. They believe Jesus was a prophet, a great teacher, but not the Son of God. Mormons would say, oh yeah, Jesus is one of God's sons. Even Jehovah's Witnesses will say, yes, he was a great man, but he's not divine, he's not God. Is it fair that God would let people like that in and us along with them? Is that just? That's like saying, well, two people are breaking the speed limit. Well, this one was only going 5 miles over, but this one was going 100 miles over. But we're going to let them both slide. At least that's my 2 cents as far as that. Now, Jesus came and died and says, I'm the way, the truth, and the life. No one comes to the Father except through him. And, I say, people want to say, oh, God's love, he loves me no matter what I do. Well, yeah, he does love you, but that don't mean he's going to let you in. I mean, our children, our son especially, get in trouble. That doesn't mean I just overlooked it. I had to correct him, or we had to correct him. Does that mean I stopped loving him? No, I still loved him. And if he was to go off and end up in jail, I'm still going to love him, but he's going to sit in jail from this old daddy so he can learn his lesson. Because he's got it somewhere along the way they got to stop, or they're just going to head down a wrong path. Well, God's not going to let just anybody in. He wants us to want him, but we got to go through Christ. And so through this parable, 1, be ready. That's essentially the meaning of this parable. It could happen today. 2, not everybody's going to enter that thinks they're going to enter. So, any questions? Comments? Concerns? Gary's over there thinking real serious. All right, let me finish this thing here.